Hello, I am Joyce May, and I guess what I'll do for this presentation is have the slides behind me, so I'll just kind of move you along. So if you will go to the second slide, I did my presentation on Kenny Wayne Shepherd, and you can just go to the next slide. We'll just dive right in. So a little background on him. He was born in Shreveport, Louisiana in 1977. His dad was a concert promoter, so he really grew up like going, backstage and being heavily involved in, the Louisiana blues scene and that kind of thing. Saw a lot of really cool blues artists from a young age, and not just blues artists, Hank Williams Jr. just was exposed to a lot from a young age, which kind of developed his love of music and heavily influenced his style. When he was younger, when he was like 3 or something, I think his grandmother gave him his first guitar, this little plastic guitar that he would play around on. And then eventually he got a real guitar at age 7, and he was completely self-taught. He never took any formal lessons or anything like that, and is just a really, really amazing guitarist. He played on stage for the first time when he was 13. He was at a concert, and I think it was someone that his dad knew and pulled him up on stage, and he played like a 2-hour set, and shortly after that he was signed with a record label. So that's just a little background information on him. We'll go to the next slide. So he obviously, like I said before, was heavily influenced by a lot of that music his dad introduced him to. So in some of the clips I'll play, you'll hear really heavy influences of, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Muddy Waters, Slash, Albert King, Duane Allman. A lot of these people he actually was able to play with as well, which is really cool. And you can just hear a lot of that influence, like rock and roll, a really strong like electric guitar, and then a lot of really, really bluesy, a little bit of country kind of mixed in there too as well. If you will go to the next slide, we'll talk a little bit about his career. So in 1995, as a teenager, he released his first album called Ledbetter Heights. And that album sold over 500,000 copies, which was just a huge commercial success. Considering this was like a blues album, kind of at that time, there really wasn't even much of a, I don't want to say genre, but like a placement for blues album. Like there wasn't like really blues radio or anything like that. It was like rock and roll, or there was country or this and that, but this was just kind of like, his was kind of a mixture of everything, which is part of the reason that I really love him, because he just mixed a lot of different music and did it really beautifully. In 1998, he released Trouble Is, and I believe for that one he received a Grammy nomination. 1999, an album called Lived On. 2004, The Place You're In. Oh, and on Live On, that album was the first that he did like the majority of the vocals. So he kind of goes back and forth throughout his career, but he's very focused on like a band. It's not just him specifically. He's very like, that's at his core. He recognizes all of this as being like a team effort, and he has a lot of really amazing other musicians coming together, and they're all very much an influence on his music. In 2004, he released The Place You're In. He had a big gap, I'm skipping ahead. In 2011, he released How I Go, and there was a big gap in between that. And that was, he had like, a bunch of kids and stuff, so there was just a gap in his career. But he did say about that album specifically, he really liked that he, could kind of write and have a lot of time to reflect, to perfect that album, where a lot of the others, he was like, in a time crunch to have it released or whatever. And then looking back, he would kind of talk about how, he wished he had perfected certain things or done certain things differently. So I think that one was really technically just kind of a highlight for him. In 2017, he did Lay It Down, and then most recently in 2018, he released The Traveler. we'll just go to the next slide. So this one, you can just watch this YouTube video. You can watch it from the beginning to like a minute and a half. And this is just cool because he just talks about how, you know, kind of his early career starting, and how when he started off, he was sort of out of his element, and that he was just doing something and playing music that a lot of people his age at that time, when he was like, you know, 18 years old when he released that album, talking about how a lot of, you know, he was just totally out of his element at that age. Like, people his age had no idea what that kind of music was. No one was really listening to that music. So in a way, I feel like he really kind of connected and brought back, I don't want to say lost art, but maybe for, you know, his generation or a younger generation, which I kind of feel in general, blues and rock and roll, or that style anyways, is kind of, there's not a lot of like new artists coming out with that kind of music. It's, you know, people still, you know, listen to Jimi Hendrix and that kind of thing, but it's cool that he's taking those influences and that style and bringing, you know, new music out. So that's part of the reason that I really love him and respect him as an artist. So if you want to just pause this and you can watch through that. And then we will go to our next slide. This one, you can just watch from about 40 seconds in, you know, watch as much as you want, but I guess for our 90-second clip, you can stop at 2 minutes and 10 seconds. But this song is probably one of my all-time favorite songs. It's just a song he wrote. It's an instrumental, and I just really love it because this is like why I love him as an artist, because it's just, there's no lyrics, but it just speaks to you, and it like tells a story, but it's up for interpretation, and it's just an absolutely beautiful song. I'm seriously obsessed with it. I hope you like it too. This clip is not particularly a great clip. I don't think this song is even released on any of his albums, so all of them are just live versions, but it's so good. And so just another reason that I think people just need to hear about him, or just this music in general, or why I love it so much, is, I already gave you several reasons, but I grew up in Austin, and my parents were friends with Cliff Antone, so when I was younger, like, I always got to go in there and listen to live music and stuff like that. So I really love the live music, and I feel like no kind of music compares live than like a really good electric guitar or an acoustic guitar or just a really good band. It's the best to listen to. It's my absolute favorite, even though I, you know, listen from everything from Chopin to Hank Williams to Travis Scott to whatever. This is just, I think you can't beat it live, and he's just really incredible. So anyways, we'll just go to the next slide. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you feel compelled to explore some more of his music if you haven't already. Hope you're staying safe and healthy, and thank you so much.